37 weeks pregnant, Vera woke up at 3 a.m. to a sensation she'd never felt before. Not pain, exactly, more like pressure, like her entire body was preparing for something momentous. She lay still for a moment, one hand on her enormous belly, feeling their daughter shift and move. Jinyoung slept beside her, one arm protectively around her waist even in sleep, his face peaceful in a way it only ever was when he was with her. Then it happened again, a tightening, a wave, different from the Braxton Hicks contractions she'd experienced before. "Jinyoung," she whispered. He was awake instantly, years of living in danger making him hyper-aware even in sleep. "What's wrong? Are you okay? Is it the baby?" I think it might be time." He went completely still, then his eyes went wide. Time, like, she's coming time. "Maybe, I'm not sure, but something's different." He was out of bed in seconds, pulling on clothes with shaking hands. Okay, hospital, we need to go to the hospital. Where's your bag, the one we packed? Where is it?" "Jinyoung, breathe." "I am breathing, I'm very calm, I'm completely..." Another contraction hit and Vera gasped. Jinyoung's face went pale. "That's it, we're going, now." "They said not to rush to the hospital for the first contractions. We should time them." "Time them in the car." He was already calling his security team, his voice sharp with barely controlled panic. "Jun, we need the car. Now, yes, now, the baby's coming. I don't care what time it is, get everyone ready." Vera would have laughed at seeing the normally controlled mafia boss completely unraveling, but another contraction stole her breath. Before we dive into episode 3, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and tell me where you're watching from. 20 minutes later, they were speeding through Seoul's empty pre-dawn streets. Jinyoung held her hand so tightly she thought he might break her fingers, his other hand on her belly, feeling each contraction with her. "You're doing so well," he kept saying. "So strong, so brave, just breathe with me." "You're the one who needs to breathe," Vera managed between contractions. "You look like you're about to pass out." "I might," he admitted. "I've faced armed men, rival syndicates, near-death situations. But this, watching you in pain, knowing there's nothing I can do to stop it, this is the most terrified I've ever been." She squeezed his hand. "I'm okay, we're okay, this is normal. This is how Bobbies come." "I don't like normal," he muttered. "Normal hurts you." At the hospital, chaos erupted. The staff had been on alert for weeks. When the wife of Seoul's most powerful underground figure was about to give birth, everyone prepared. Dr. Kim met them at the entrance with a wheelchair. "How far apart are the contractions?" she asked. 6 minutes, Jinyoung answered before Vera could speak. "They started 43 minutes ago. They're getting stronger. She's in pain. Can you give her something, please?" "Let's check how dilated she is first," Dr. Kim said calmly. "Vera, how are you feeling?" "Scared," Vera admitted. "Excited, ready to meet her, terrified something will go wrong." "All completely normal," Dr. Kim smiled. "Let's get you settled and see how far along you are." The examination revealed Vera was already 5 centimeters dilated, halfway there. "This is good progress," Dr. Kim said, "but it could still be several hours. First Bobbies like to take their time." Several hours. Jinyoung looked like he might be sick. Hours of her in pain. "It's called labor for a reason," Dr. Kim said gently. "But we can give her an epidural if she wants one." "Yes," Jinyoung said immediately. "Jinyoung, that's not your decision." "Please," he said, his voice breaking. "Please let them help with the pain. I can't watch you suffer for hours knowing there's relief available." Vera saw the genuine anguish in his eyes and nodded. "Okay, yes, epidural please." The next hour was a blur. The anesthesiologist arrived. The epidural was administered. The pain faded to manageable pressure. Jinyoung didn't leave her side for a second, holding her hand, wiping her forehead, whispering encouragement. "You're so strong," he kept saying. "So beautiful, I love you so much. You're bringing our daughter into the world. You're giving me everything I never knew I needed." Around noon, Dr. Kim checked again. 10 centimeters, it's time to push. Jin Young's face went white. Already? Wait, I'm not ready. Is she ready? Are we ready? You're never ready, Dr. Kim laughed. But she is. Your daughter wants to meet you. What followed was the most intense 2 hours of both their lives. Vera pushed with everything she had, Jin Young beside her the entire time, holding her leg, counting with her, crying openly as he watched her fight to bring their baby into the world. I can see her head, Dr. Kim said. One more big push, Vera, you can do this. I can't, Vera sobbed, exhausted. You can, Jin Young said fiercely. You're the strongest person I've ever met. You walked into my world without fear. You chose me despite the danger. You're about to become a mother. You can do anything. Vera looked into his eyes, those dark, intense eyes that had once been so cold and were now filled with love and awe and absolute faith in her. She took a breath and pushed with everything she had left. And then, at 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday in April, their daughter entered the world screaming. She's here, Dr. Kim said, tears in her own eyes. She's perfect. They placed the baby on Vera's chest, tiny, red, covered in vernix, absolutely beautiful. Vera sobbed with relief and joy. And Jin Young, this man who ruled Seoul's underworld with brutal efficiency, collapsed into the chair beside the bed and cried like a child. She's real, he whispered. She's actually real. The baby opened her eyes dark, like her father's. She looked directly at him, and Jin Young made a sound somewhere between a laugh and a sob. Hi, he whispered. Hi, baby girl, I'm your daddy. I've been waiting so long to meet you. Vera had never seen him like this, completely unguarded, vulnerable, transformed by love. He reached out with one shaking finger to touch their daughter's tiny hand. She immediately grabbed it, her little fingers wrapping around his one large one. Oh, Jin Young breathed. Oh, she's holding me. She knows her daddy, Vera said through tears. They sat like that for long minutes, their new family of 3, Jin Young still holding his daughter's hand while she lay on Vera's chest, all of them crying, all of them overwhelmed. Finally, the nurse said, We need to clean her up and do some measurements. Dad, would you like to cut the umbilical cord? Jin Young looked terrified. I might hurt her. You won't, the nurse assured him. I'll guide you. He cut the cord with shaking hands, then watched anxiously as they took his daughter to weigh and measure her. 7 pounds 4 ounces, the nurse announced. 20 inches long, perfect Apgar scores, she's absolutely healthy. They cleaned her, wrapped her in a soft pink blanket, and handed her to Jin Young. He held his daughter for the first time, and his whole world shifted. This tiny human, barely bigger than his forearm, was his daughter, his responsibility, his entire heart outside his body. She's so small, he whispered. How is something so small so perfect? What should we name her? Vera asked. They discussed names for months but never decided. Now, looking at their daughter's face, Jin Young said, June, born in April but feeling like the beginning of summer, like sunshine after a long winter. June, Vera repeated, smiling through tears. It's perfect, June Park. June Grace Park, Jin Young added. Grace because you showed me grace when I didn't deserve it, because she's a gift I never earned but will spend my life being worthy of. Vera started crying again. That's beautiful. For the next hour, they just existed in their bubble. Jin Young holding June, Vera recovering, both of them unable to stop staring at their daughter. I can't believe we made her, Jin Young said. Look at her fingers, they're so tiny. And her nose, that's your nose. Thank God, my nose is too big. Your nose is perfect. Her hair is dark like mine, and curly like yours. She's the best of both of us. He pressed a kiss to June's forehead. You're going to be so loved, little one, so protected. I promise you'll never be afraid, never be alone, never question if you matter. Later, when Vera was sleeping and June was in his arms, Jun appeared in the doorway. Boss, I just wanted to check. He stopped, seeing Jin Young holding the baby. Oh, she's here. She's here, Jin Young confirmed, his voice full of wonder. Jun, meet June. Jun stepped closer, his tough face softening. "She's beautiful, boss. Congratulations." "Thank you for everything, for protecting Vera, for being there when I needed you." Jinyoung looked at his most trusted man. "I need you to do something for me." "Anything." "I'm stepping back from active operations. I'll still own everything, still make major decisions. But the day-to-day, the violence, the risks, I can't do it anymore. Not with her." He looked at his sleeping daughter. "I can't risk leaving her without a father. I can't risk her growing up visiting me in prison or worse." Emjun was quiet for a moment. Then, "I understand, I'll handle it. You focus on your family." After Emjun left, Jinyoung sat in the chair beside Vera's hospital bed, holding June, watching his wife sleep. His wife, his daughter, his family. He'd spent 33 years building walls, accumulating power, becoming feared. And in less than a year, one brave woman with a camera and a kind heart had demolished every wall and shown him what actually mattered. Not power, not fear, not control. Love, family, this. "I'm going to be a good father to you," he whispered to June. "I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to be overprotective and probably embarrassing. But I'm going to love you with everything I have. And I'm going to make sure you grow up knowing you're safe, valued, and capable of anything you dream." June made a small sound in her sleep, and Jinyoung's heart absolutely melted. "Yeah," he said, "I'm completely ruined. You own me entirely, little one, and I wouldn't have it any other way." 3 days later, they brought June home to the penthouse. Jinyoung had transformed the space again. Baby monitors, cameras, the safest crib money could buy, every baby item researched obsessively. He'd even hired a night nurse despite Vera's protests. "Just for the first month," he'd insisted. "So you can rest, so we can learn, please." The first night home was chaos. June cried. Neither of them knew why. They tried everything, feeding, changing, rocking, singing. Nothing worked. "What if something's wrong?" Jinyoung asked, genuinely panicked. "Should we call the doctor? Should we go to the hospital?" "She's probably just adjusting," Vera said, though she looked worried too. "Bobby's cry, that's normal." "I don't like normal," Jinyoung muttered, the same thing he'd said during labor. Finally, he tried something desperate. He held June against his chest, skin to skin, and just walked with her, talking quietly about everything and nothing. "Your mother is the bravest person I've ever met," he told his crying daughter. "When she walked into my fighting ring, she didn't flinch. When I was covered in blood, she didn't run. When people tried to hurt her career, she stood strong. And when you decided to arrive 3 weeks early, she brought you into this world like a warrior." June's crying quieted. "You're named after a beautiful month," he continued. "The beginning of summer, warmth and light after darkness. That's what you are to me. Light after years of living in shadows." June stopped crying completely, her dark eyes open and staring at him. "There you are," Jinyoung whispered. "There's my girl." Vera watched from the doorway, tears streaming down her face. This man, this dangerous, powerful man, had become the gentlest father. The weeks that followed were hard but beautiful. Sleepless nights, constant feedings, learning what each cry meant. Jinyoung changed diapers with the same focus he'd once applied to business deals. He got up for every night feeding, insisting Vera needed rest after giving birth. "You carried her for 9 months, he said at 3 a.m., bottle-feeding June while Vera protested she could do it. "Let me do this, please. I need to know I'm useful." "You're more than useful. You're everything." He looked up from feeding their daughter, his eyes soft. "No, you two are everything. I'm just lucky enough to be here." When June was 3 weeks old, Jinyoung's mother came to meet her granddaughter for the first time. Jinyoung had been estranged from his family since his father's death. They disapproved of how he'd taken control, the choices he'd made, the life he'd chosen. But when he'd sent a photo of June, his mother had called immediately, crying, asking to meet her. The meeting was awkward at first. His mother was elegant, traditional, clearly unsure about her son's black British wife. But when she held June for the first time, everything changed. "She's beautiful," she whispered in Korean. "She has your eyes, and her mother's strength, I can already see it." "Mom, this is Vera," Jinyoung said. My wife, the love of my life, the mother of your granddaughter. His mother looked at Vera for a long moment. Then she bowed slightly. Thank you, she said in accented English, for loving my son, for giving him purpose, for this beautiful child. Vera bowed back. Thank you for raising him, for teaching him loyalty and strength. It wasn't perfect. There would be cultural misunderstandings, language barriers, moments of tension. But it was a start, a bridge being built, for June. That night, after his mother left, Jinyoung held Vera close while June slept in her bassinet beside their bed. I never thought I'd have this, he admitted. A family, people who care not because they fear me, but because they love me. You deserve this. I don't, but I'm grateful for it anyway. He kissed her softly. You gave me everything, Vera, purpose, love, a daughter, a future worth living for. We gave each other everything, she corrected. They lay there in the darkness, listening to their daughter breathe, and felt complete. But peace, as always in Jinyoung's world, was temporary. When June was 2 months old, Jinyoung came home earlier than expected. Vera was in the nursery, feeding June, when she heard the penthouse door open. Jinyoung, she called. He appeared in the doorway, his face serious. We need to talk. Her heart sank. What's wrong? My uncle, the one I thought was dealt with. He ran his hand through his hair. He wasn't working alone. His partner, someone I never knew about, just made a move. Tried to take over 3 of my businesses. Are we in danger? No, I handled it, but... He looked at June, sleeping peacefully after her feeding. This isn't over. There are people who will always want what I have, who will always see my family as a weakness to exploit. Vera's chest tightened. So what do we do? I have a choice to make. He sat beside her. I can stay in this life, maintain control, deal with threats as they come, raise our daughter knowing danger exists. Or I can get out, completely. Sell my interests, liquidate everything, take you and June somewhere safe. Start over. Vera stared at him. You'd give up everything you built. In a heartbeat. His answer was immediate. Vera, you and June are my everything. The businesses, the power, the reputation, none of it matters compared to keeping you safe. But it's your legacy, your father's legacy. My father's legacy got him killed. Jinyoung's voice was harsh. I don't want that for June. I don't want her growing up afraid. I don't want her 15 years from now having to choose between the life I built and the life she wants. What do you want? I want mornings with you. I want to watch June grow up. I want to be there for her first steps, her first words, her first day of school. I want normal. I want safe. I want us. Vera took his hand. Then let's do it. Let's get out. You're sure? It means leaving Seoul, starting over somewhere new, probably London or somewhere you have connections. I'm sure. As long as we're together, anywhere is home. He pulled her and June into his arms, and for the first time in his adult life, Jinyoung allowed himself to imagine a different future. One without violence, without constant vigilance, without fear. Just him, his wife, his daughter, and whatever ordinary, beautiful life they could build together. Okay, he said. Let's do it, let's start over. 6 months later, they stood in Heathrow Airport, June now 8 months old and babbling happily in Vera's arms. Jinyoung had sold everything, every business, every property, every connection. He'd set up trusts for his most loyal people, ensured their protection, and then walked away from the only life he'd known since his father's death. It had been complicated, dangerous. There were people who didn't want him to leave, who saw his departure as weakness or opportunity. But Jun had handled it all, protecting Jinyoung's exit the way Jinyoung had protected so many others. Now they were in London, starting completely fresh. Jinyoung had no reputation here, no power, no fear factor. He was just a wealthy Korean man with a British wife and a beautiful daughter. And he'd never been happier. You okay? Vera asked as they loaded into a taxi, heading to their new flat in Kensington. I'm perfect, Jinyoung said, tickling June until she laughed. I have everything I need. No regrets. Not one. He kissed Vera softly. You saved me, you know, from becoming my father, from dying young and angry. You showed me there was another way. We saved each other. In their new London flat, significantly smaller than the Seoul penthouse, but filled with light and life, they began building their new existence. Jinyoung enrolled in a literature program at King's College, finally pursuing the degree he'd abandoned years ago. Vera opened a small photography studio, teaching classes and doing freelance work. And June grew, thriving in a world without bodyguards or threats or fear. 1 year after leaving Seoul, on the anniversary of the day they'd met, Jinyoung woke Vera with breakfast in bed. Happy anniversary of you walking into my fighting ring and changing my entire life, he said. That's a terrible anniversary name. I'm working on it. He sat beside her, serious now. Vera, I need to tell you something. You're scaring me. Don't be scared. He took her hand. I'm the happiest I've ever been, teaching literature, coming home to you in June, living a normal life. This is everything. But I know you gave up a lot for this. Your career was taking off in Seoul. You had galleries interested, opportunities. And I chose this, she interrupted. I chose us. I don't regret it, Jinyoung. I know, but I want to give you something back. He pulled out an envelope. I've been in contact with several London galleries. There's interest in a solo exhibition of your Seoul photography. 3 months, fully funded, right here in London. Vera's eyes filled with tears. You did this for me. You gave me a daughter and a future. The least I can do is help your art reach the audience it deserves. She kissed him deeply. I love you. I love you too, both of you. He looked at June, playing with blocks on the floor. My beautiful girls, my entire world. That night, after June was asleep, they made love slowly, tenderly, celebrating the life they'd built from the ashes of his old one. And the next morning, when June took her first steps, from Vera's arms to Jinyoung's waiting hands, they both cried with joy. You did it, baby girl, Jinyoung cheered, scooping her up and spinning her. You're walking, you're so smart and strong and perfect. Vera captured it all on camera, her husband's joy, her daughter's proud smile, the morning light streaming through their London flat. This was what mattered. This was worth everything they'd sacrificed. Love, family, freedom, safety. 3 years later, they welcomed a son, James, and 5 years after that, another daughter, Lily. Jinyoung became a literature professor. Vera's photography career flourished internationally. Their children grew up knowing both cultures, speaking both languages, loved fiercely by parents who'd fought through danger to build them a safe world. And sometimes, late at night when the children were asleep, Jinyoung would hold Vera and whisper, "Thank you." For what? For walking into that fighting ring, for not being afraid, for choosing me when you should have run, for giving me this life. I'd do it again, she always replied, every single time. Because their love story had started in violence and danger, but it had transformed into something beautiful, something lasting, something that proved even the darkest hearts could learn to love, and even the most dangerous men could become gentle fathers. And when June asked, years later, how her parents met, Jinyoung would smile and say, Your mother took a wrong turn and stumbled into the scariest place in Seoul. And instead of running away, she stayed. Best wrong turn of both our lives. That's so romantic, Daddy, June would sigh. Your mother is the bravest person I've ever met, Jinyoung would reply, pulling Vera close. She saw a monster and found a man. She saw danger and found home. She's my hero. And Vera would kiss him and add, And your father is the strongest person I know, not because of his power or his past, but because he chose love over everything else. He chose us, and that takes true strength. Their children would roll their eyes at their parents' romance, but secretly they loved it. Loved knowing they came from a love so strong it had transformed lives, crossed cultures, and built something beautiful from broken pieces. And on quiet nights, when Jinyoung held his growing family close, he'd remember the cold, lonely man he used to be and marvel at what love had made him. Better, softer, complete. All because a beautiful woman with a camera and a brave heart had taken a wrong turn and chosen to stay. The end. Thank you for following Jinyoung and Vera's complete love story. Did you love their journey from dangerous Seoul to peaceful London? Did their happy ending make you cry? Comment more stories if you want another romance. Like if this ending was perfect. Subscribe for more interracial love stories. Share with someone who loves happy endings.